Hey guys, what is up? It is No Help and welcome back to another video today. So in today's video, we're going to be going over all of the relics in the Trailblazer Reloaded League. Now the reason the league is so much fun is because you can kind of choose the way you want to play the game. There's no right or wrong answer. It's how your play style is and which relics will best suit you. I'm going to be telling you the ones that I personally picked throughout the league, and if I do have any regrets. Okay, so we're going to start with tier 1, the stuff you unlock right away. So the passive effects for just starting logging into the game. Items from eligible sources will be 2 times as common. Your run energy will never be drained while running, and all clue scrolls will drop as stackable scroll boxes. And then these are the 3 relics that you can choose. We've got Endless Harvest, Production Prodigy, and then Trickster. So the one I personally went with is Trickster. So we're going to look at these. So there's Endless Harvest. So resources gathered from fishing, woodcutting, and mining are doubled. Experience is also given for the extra resource, and then resources gathered by the relic are sent to the player's bank. And if the bank is full, it will be placed in the player's inventory instead. Items that normally cannot be banked will be placed in the inventory. Okay, so it's a pretty basic relic right here. It benefits 3 skills, can help you out a little bit, but personally I wouldn't go with it. But if you like those types of skills, you want some extra resources, it might be for you, right? Now the next one is Production Prodigy. Now I know a ton of people actually went for this one, and do I regret not choosing it? No, but it is a super handy one. So crafting, smithing, herb lore, and fletching and cooking are boosted by +12. This can be very useful for getting some of the tasks out of the way if you don't have the requirements. Oh, you've already got the requirements. It can come in handy for sure. And then all items are processed at once when performing the following activities. So smelting ores, bars, cannonballs, fletching logs, bows, bolt tips, cleaning herbs and making potions, cooking food, crafting leather, jewelry, battle staves, a bunch of other stuff. All done at once. So say you cook one piece of food, the whole inventory gets done, you'll get all the experience for it. But no, it doesn't stop there. There is a 25% chance that players will make an extra product, which will be sent to the bank if there is space, and the additional product will also grant experience. So this is awesome. Has like a little bit of that Endless Harvest kind of in it, where you save 25% of the resources. So say you're making potions, you'll get basically 25% extra potions. Or if you're crafting, say, an onyx, there's a 25% chance that you'll actually save that onyx. Now this is the relic I personally went with, Trickster. So players are given the Sage's Greaves, which are boots that grant 2/3 of the player's agility level as experience while running roughly every 10 ticks. Basically, they're like Silverhawk boots from Runescape 3 that proc a lot more often and give a lot more experience. Amazing. I haven't trained agility yet, and I'm already like almost level 90 just from running around the game. But this is the real reason why I chose it. So players will always succeed in performing actions for thieving, agility, hunter, and fire making. Probably some of the most annoying skills when you first start off. You'll never fail. And I was just like sold on that. And then the maximum amount of coin pouches players can hold is tripled. The player will automatically re-pickpocket an NPC until they can no longer do so. This is another feature from RuneScape 3, so it's really good for getting early game money. Pickpocket loot is doubled and converted into banknotes, another huge one. And this will stack with the rogue's outfit if you have that region unlocked, which will get you quadruple loot. Box traps will lure creatures faster and give double loot. Very, very nice for hunter training, gathering those chinchompas. Impling jars will never break upon opening one. And then players can burn multiple logs per action, up to 9 at a time. So I was sold on the Trickster relic. Okay, so once you get 500 league points, you will be tier 2, and you can choose 2 new relics. But first of all, the passive effects. So your league's experience multiplier will increase from 5x to 8x, huge, and minigame points received are now tripled. So there's 2 different relics here. We've got Fairy's Flight and the Globetrotter. Personally, I went with the Globetrotter. This might have been a mistake because Fairy's Flight has a ton of different like options to teleport around, but I'll go ahead and read them off. So Fairy's Flight must be unlocked in a bank because you are given an item upon unlocking this relic. Players are given the Fairy Mushroom, which allows teleporting to any Fairy Ring, Spirit Tree, or Tool Leprechaun. So I didn't realize it was Spirit Tree or Tool Leprechaun. I thought it was just Fairy Ring. So yeah, I went with the other one, but that's very, very overpowered because there's so many different fairy rings around the game, spirit trees. You got all the farming patches with the Tool Leprechauns, can come in super handy. So I went with the Globetrotter, so it must be unlocked at a bank again because you are given the pendant, the Globetrotter pendant, which allows you to teleport to all locations from an Ornite jewelry box and all spellbook teleports. Very, very useful, right? If you do have the ability to build this in your house, it's not a big deal, but it's very useful for the early game. They're both very useful, but I'm kind of thinking now maybe I should have went with the Fairy's Flight. Okay, so tier 3 is unlocked once you receive 1200 league points. Now the passive effects for tier 3 is players are given a Crystal of Memories, which can teleport players back from where they most recently teleported from. And it has a cooldown timer of 6 minutes, which can be reduced by 1 for every 300 total levels the player has. And once you hit 1800 total, no longer you will have a cooldown on that. And the crystal will not save teleports casted from instance areas, with some exceptions. Now the two relics for tier 3 is Banker's Note and Fire Sale. The one I personally went with is the Banker's Note. Now I'm going to read them off. So Banker's Note obviously must be unlocked at a bank because you are given an item called the Banker's Note, which allows players to use note-able items on it to turn them into banknotes or unnote them. Items must be used on the Banker's Note. So basically, it's very nice. So when you're skilling, when you're PVMing, you could either unnote things like food or potions, or if you're, say, mining, you can just note all of your ores, right? So pretty nice, honestly, for most scenarios in the game. If you want to buy things from shops, you can just use the note on them, right? You can stay at a boss forever, learn bosses this way because you can bring unlimited food. It's one of the cool things. If you really want to learn some stuff on this league, like maybe the Inferno, definitely go with the Banker's Note. Now the next one is a very fun one called a Fire Sale. All item shops with coins as currency, keep that in mind, are free. So like, think about that for a second. Depending on the areas you unlock, could be extremely overpowered, right? So, you know, when I was first looking at it, I'm like, what do you ever buy from a shop? Like, you think of the general store just has like a bucket, it doesn't really matter. But some things, right? You got the rune shops, unlimited runes, sell those for tackle. You can buy anything you want. You can buy so many supplies for construction, right? There's so many possibilities with Fire Sale, and it looks like a very fun relic. But another thing is, I think this, just with the way my playstyle is, Banker's Note was definitely for me. Okay, so tier 4 is unlocked at 2000 league points, and the passive effects from this is items from eligible sources will be 3 times as common. The Bigger and Badder Slayer unlock is unlocked. Superior Slayer monsters have a 1 in 50 chance to spawn. If purchased already, 150 Slayer points will be refunded, and Slayer point rewards are increased by 5 times, which is amazing. Now, the 3 different relics is kind of your choice of combat style. The one I personally went with is the Archer's Embrace. Now, ranged weapons with an attack speed of above 4 ticks, 2.4 seconds, will have halved, rounded down. Ranged weapons with an attack speed of 3 ticks or 1.8 seconds will have halved, rounding up. The player's range accuracy is doubled. Successful hits have a 10% chance to fire an extra projectile with damage roll independent from the first. Players will save 90% of the ammunition used on ranged weapons, and it stacks with the Ava's devices for a maximum of 98% in savings. And applicable charged weapons, including the Crystal Bow, the Venomber Bow, the Toxic Blowpipe, and bolts, have a doubled chance to activate. Insane. Now the melee relic is pretty much almost the same, but for melee, right? So the attack speed, different weapons will be rounded down or rounded up. The player's melee accuracy as well as melee range and defense is increased by 50%. Successful hits have 10% chance to deal double damage. Players will save 90% of charges on certain weapons, and this one's very interesting. Immunity to all stat effects from NPCs and players, including poison, venom, dragon fire, icy breath. So this one could be extremely useful if you plan to do some of the bosses that do this quite a bit, like dragons. Vorkath is what I'm thinking. Now, this is the one that I kind of wish I chose, right? So we've got Superior Sorcerer. Now, magic weapons have an attack speed of 1.2 seconds. Freaking insane. The player's magic accuracy and damage are increased by 175% and 20% respectively. Players will save 90% of runes they use while casting spells, including charges from powered staffs. In multi-combat areas, magic attacks will damage up to 5 surrounding targets for up to 25% initial damage dealt on the primary target. Spells that bind/freeze the target will always hit, providing that they are not immune or already bound, and players will be given the book and the rune pouch, providing that they are in a bank. So basically this book will allow you the change of from different spell books from your inventory, providing that the players have them unlocked, and the rune pouch will store 5 types of runes, which is insane, and the divine rune pouch can store 6. Okay, tier 5 is 4,000 league points, and the passive effects is the league XP multiplier will increase from 8 times to 12 times, and minigame points received are increased by 5 times. Now, the relics for this is Bloodthirsty, Infernal Gathering, and Treasure Seeker. The one I personally went with is Bloodthirsty. So what Bloodthirsty does is players can receive and cancel Slayer tasks via the Slayer helmet and gem, like remotely, right? And then Expeditious Bracelets and the Bracelets of Slaughter have a 35% chance to proc their effects. Superior Slayer monsters will have the following buffs. The spawn chance is increased to 1 in 25. Slayer points are given upon killing, 1 based on the Slayer level and the difficulty. 6 rolls on their normal counterparts drop table. A 25% chance for a Superior Slayer monster to spawn as a Bloodthirsty variant, which has the following: 9 rolls on the normal drop table, a guaranteed clue scroll, triple chance of rolling the Superior unique drop table, and a roll on the Bloodthirsty drop table. Just sounded too fun to pass up. Now there is Infernal Gathering, which basically you unlock it at a bank, and the player is given a set of Trailblazer tools that act as the upgraded variants of crystal tools with no requirements, plus some additional effects. So you have the Trailblazer axe. Any logs chopped are burned, granting fire making experience regardless of the level. Performs 1 tick quicker than normal tools. We got the Trailblazer pickaxe, kind of the same deal. Any ore mined will be smelted. And then the Trailblazer harpoon, any fish caught will be cooked. Now this one is interesting, but definitely not needed. I can see why some players really want to get it, right? Just because it'll make the resource gathering skills a lot easier, right? Gathering skills, getting all the resources, right? And then you kind of training 2 skills at once. But I don't know, I think it's the weakest of the 3 personally. Now the one I think I should have went with is the Treasure Seeker. Now NPCs that drop clue scrolls have a 1 in 15 chance of dropping one, including impling jars. The rate of obtaining clue vessels are increased by 10%. Clue scrolls have the lowest possible amount of steps. Reward caskets will give a maximum amount of rewarded rolls. Upon opening a reward casket, there's a chance that players will receive another reward casket of the same tier. This is more common the lower the tier. And additionally, there is a chance for a bonus casket to be upgraded to a tier above the one players initially opened. So right, like I said, this all really depends on your play style. I personally really like Slayer, but I think the Treasure Seeker would have been a lot more fun because of the fact that you could just do so many clue scrolls and get so many cool rewards from that. But it is all up to the way you play the game. Okay, next is tier 6, which is unlocked at 7,500 league points. The passive effect is items from the eligible sources will be 4 times as common. Now the 3 relics you can choose is Equilibrium, Farmer's Fortune, and Ruinous Powers. I personally went with the Farmer's Fortune. So with Equilibrium, each time the player gains experience, they will gain an additional experience equal to 10% of the player's total level, 20% for the player's lowest skill, and additionally, experience given by this relic is not multiplied by the league's XP multiplier. If chosen with Production Prodigy, each item processed will trigger this effect. I guess it could be good if you had the Production Prodigy relic as well, but this one is just literally extra experience, so definitely not for me. The one I chose, obviously, Farmer's Fortune. Players will have a 20% chance to save the seed or sapling that was planted. Farming patches will grow instantly and never catch a disease. Players will harvest farming patches 25 times faster, giving triple the usual yield and turning them into banknotes. The real reason I chose this is I just wanted to see a tree grow instantly, and obviously it's also really good for herb lore because I can get pretty much unlimited herbs and make herb lore, which is one of the harder skills, especially being like an Ironman, right? Pretty much out of the way, and I can grow the secondary ingredients like instantly as well. Now the next one is Ruinous Powers. Now basically this will give you the Ruinous prayer book that I think was actually scrapped. So players are given the Ruinous Powers book, an item that allows players to switch between the standards prayer book and the Ruinous Powers prayer book. So if you were really interested or curious about this prayer book, this will definitely be the one you can choose, and you can play with these new prayers. Okay, next is tier 7, and you need 15,000 league points to unlock this, and the passive effect is the league XP multiplier will increase from 12 times to 16 times. Minigame points received are increased by 8 times. Massive. Now the 3 relics you can choose is Berserker, Soul Stealer, and Weapon Master. Now the one I personally went with is Berserker. So damage dealt is increased by 0.4% for each hit point missing. The player is guaranteed to hit their max hit on an NPC if the NPC is at full health. So pretty much every time you start to attack something, a slayer or bossing, you're gonna be hitting your max hit. And the lower HP you are, you'll just be hitting higher and higher and higher. So you're kind of like a permanent Darox armor set. The other one's called Soul Eater, so the player's minimum hit is increased by 10% of their max hit. For example, if you were to roll a 0 to 50, you would roll from a 5 to a 50. Upon a successful hit, there is a 50% chance that the player's hit points and prayer points are restored by 10% of the damage dealt, rounded up. This restoration effect excludes multiple target attacks and special attacks. So basically, this is kind of like if you had Soul Split. Can be very useful in some scenarios. It could also help you if you wanted to learn certain bosses, but I thought Berserker was a lot more fun. The next one is the Weapon Master. Now, special attacks always result in a successful hit, and then the player's special attack energy is restored by 30% every 30 seconds, and the light bear will increase this to every 15 seconds. So it can be like a lot of fun. So say you had like Dragon Claws, you could just spec. But I personally still think Berserker would be more fun just for the way I play the game. If you love special attacks, maybe go with that. Or if you miss Soul Split, go with the Soul Stealer. Last but not least, we have tier 8, which is unlocked at 24,000 league points. The passive effect is items from eligible sources will be 5 times as common. That's huge. Now the 3 relics you can choose is the Guardian, the Executioner, and the Undying Retribution, which is the one I believe I'm going to go with. I haven't quite actually unlocked this one yet. So let's just go over all of them and see which one seems the best. Okay, so we've got the Guardian, so must be unlocked at a bank. Players are given the Guardian Horn, which allows players to summon a Guardian Thrall that attacks for 30 minutes. with a damage roll of 6 to 15 at an attack speed of 5 and an accuracy roll of 45,000. The Guardian Thrall will will attack with a style that the NPC has the lowest defense bonus for. In multi-combat areas, the Guardian Thrall will attempt to cast an area of effect attack. In primary target is weak to range or magic. This can be toggled via the Guardian Horn. Then the Arceus Thralls can be used alongside the Guardian Thralls, so you can have a ton of them out at once. And then you can't bring the Guardian Horn into locations where items are restricted. The Gauntlet is the only exception to this rule. So this one does sound like a lot of fun, especially that it like lasts for 30 minutes and you'll just do a ton more damage, right? Very, very interesting. And we have the Executioner, right? So again, has to be unlocked at a bank. Players are given the Sage's Axe, which allows players to instantly kill targets who have less than 20% of their health remaining. The Axe's attack range is 5 tiles. So basically you can throw this axe and just kill anything you want. If it's below, like, imagine bosses, right? A boss still has, say, 200 HP, but you just chuck this axe and instantly kill it. You can probably get some really fast kills at bosses with this weapon. It does sound a lot of fun, right? Especially with my range build, but I think I'm going to be going with Undying Retribution. So upon death, the player's hit points and prayer points are fully restored, damaging all enemies in a 7x7 area around the player, which is insane, which deals up to 200% of the player's prayer and 50% of the for other players. This effect will only work in the same places that Retribution does. So yeah, of course you're going to need that. Then there's the 3-minute cooldown between uses, right? That would kind of make sense if you could just die, come back to life, die, come back to life, and hit like a massive amounts of damage. But 3 minutes is really not that long, right? A lot of bosses take 3 minutes to kill, so you can probably use this every single time you do them, right? Very interesting, right? So you can go, especially with my Berserker, right? I can get as low HP as I want, doesn't matter, be hitting a lot of damage, and then I die, come back, and I hit even more damage. Just sounds so much fun. And then you get your prayer back, you get everything back. It just sounds insane. So I think this is the one I'm going to be choosing. Yeah, it's going to be awesome, and I hope this helps you guys choose all of the relics that you are going to be unlocking. Well, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the video today. Let me know down in the comments below the types of builds that you guys have had, and if they've been fun or not, or if you regret choosing certain relics. I know there's a couple that I wish that I maybe went with instead. Especially I wish I chose the mage one now looking back at it, but it is what it is. There's no wrong relic. It's the way you want to play the game, your play style, right? Whatever works best for you, right? Even if a lot of people might say that, no, this one's better, this one's better. If it works better for you and your play style, choose that relic. But now you guys know all of the relics. Let me know down in the comments all of the ones you've chosen. Thank you guys, and I will catch you in the next video. See ya later.